Hello, today is July 24th, 2021. Let's start with our disclaimer as we always do. It's my trading plan for Monday, July 26th, 2021. Just remember I can be completely wrong and all trades should be at your own risk. Start by going over our calls from last Thursday. We did have a lower target, but when you gap up, it's killed before the open. Futures are already up when we made the call. And we said if they stayed up, in fact, unless we reversed this rally promptly, we should see higher prices with a challenge to the all-time high, and we certainly got that. Call for the pattern with the early low, which tends to be a rally day with a high in the final hour, and we got that. On Monday, I'm expecting the pattern with the early high. During the day, we did get a buy signal in the afternoon, but the minimum target printed immediately. We didn't have to go any higher than this to satisfy it, even though we did. It did tell us this drop wasn't going to stick, because you're not going to have a sustainable drop when MEJT is on a buy signal. Well, this is kind of an unusual rally. According to CNBC, the last time we had this big a percentage drop on a Monday and then hit a new all-time high on that Friday was in 1991, so that's about 30 years. And as far as the NASDAQ goes, the same thing happened, and that's the first time that has ever happened. So I've kind of graded these out because that's a bit too much for me to stick with this count. But we'll see later on how we might save this price, even though it's not very likely at the present time. So how do you count this rally to a new high? Well, it's easy to count. This is just from this week's low. This is Monday. It's easy to count this as an impulse. It's easy to count this as an impulse, which may well have completed. But as far as this stuff in the middle, that doesn't look very impulsive to me. So even though this count might change at some point, it's hard for me to count it as an impulse. For right now, at least, I'm counting it as a three-wave structure. It might have completed. And if it's a three-wave structure, it's part of a corrective wave and has to correct at some time. We gapped up, hit higher highs, and we closed under the midday highs. That's actually a negative pattern. But what counts really isn't today's close, but Monday's open. If we gap and promptly take out this high, all this negativity goes away. But if we don't, we should see lower prices. And I think it'll be pretty clear before the open which is going to happen. Now, usually when you rally all day on the Friday, you follow through Monday. So we really should be gapping up, taking out these highs Monday if the rally is going to continue. If that doesn't happen, though, we should have a pretty significant drop. So let's look at the rally from this week's lows. We did that. So if that's a three-wave structure, how do you count things? Well, this isn't the only way to count it, but we'll start with magenta B. That's magenta B from here. We'll move this A up. And you can count this as ABC to A, ABC to B, and you can count this as a rally. Now I'd like for this to be wave 3 and that 4 and that 5, but again, I can't count this as a 5-wave structure, so I don't think that's the right count. It could still be in wave 4, we could have a significant wave C down as long as this high holds. It won't invalidate the count. And then we could have a final wave 5. It would have to truncate, but still might give us the high I wanted. So that magenta C and magenta A will have a good fib relationship. Of course, I don't always get everything I want. If you connect these highs and go all the way back to last year's high, you'll see they match up perfectly. So we have trendline resistance at the high. This is what I wanted to be the high. That was the old high, and this is the current high. They're all in a straight line. So normally you gap over that line or the line wins. We need to, if you get this rally is going to continue, you really should be gapping up over Friday's high. And if you don't, especially if you gap down, I think there's a good chance we're going to be making wave light blue C. So this needs to gap up to continue the rally, or else we could have a drop. Here's your first target, 43.6123. It should still print at some point. Monday's pattern has the early high, doesn't mean you won't gap down. We gapped up at a higher high, closed under the midday highs. It's a negative pattern. Bulls need to gap and promptly overtake Friday's high. We should see lower prices Monday, even if we don't close lower. There's trendline resistance at Friday's high, so gapping down is possible. Gapping down after a Friday rally to a new all-time high would be quite negative. If that happens, I'd expect a sizable decline, even though it should recover later to complete the wave pattern. So I think we'll know before the open Monday what's going to happen. Bulls need to gap over this high. Bears would like to see this late drop continue, and if it does, we certainly have significantly lower targets, which should be quite tradable. Monday's pattern has the early high. Bears want to see us hold on to this high here, and particularly bears want to see us move down smartly from the open, which could have legs. Bulls want to see us gap over this high, and that is today's call.